Alrighty, mostly guys. I have been studying. In fact, I was studying so much that I was losing it last night. And I woke up in the middle of the night just to study some more out of some nerves. I was getting 100% on practice tests for my A8, the ASE engine performance, the brakes, A6. And hey, if you're good at doing brakes but haven't thought about doing ACE, be sure to study first. There's a lot to learn that you don't need to know to fix those systems. Though a couple years of very weird problems occasionally popping up has helped me understand better. So yeah, I'm wiped out, but I'm feeling encouraged. It's getting 100% or 90% on my practice tests. Study up on some of those obscure things that, you know, you just, most of the time, normal people don't need to know, okay? Even as an automotive technician. But I guess that's what the ACE is about. You're supposed to have mastered these particular concepts, so I'm cool with that.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome to the D.E. Nichols channel.
Automotive.com.
Wow, do I like to take tests. I get so excited to answer a bunch of questions right, because I actually am really good at being a bookworm. I'm better at being a bookworm on anything but automotive. I guess I feel like I'm supposed to be a jock where you just get to crank on things a little bit more and not just use your noggin. It's just like my hydrolock. Did I hydrolock my engine? I had a hoodie on. I was doing the whole Sith thing, and this morning I just felt like crap, and test day. So the appropriate scene for that is I'm in my robe in the restroom and suffering before I wake up and get going. Hey, I've only got I got to be there at 11. It's 8:30. I've only got a couple hours after I leave, because of course there isn't one in Remoteville where I live, to go off to ASE testing center. I've of course thought of even videoing some of my test prep in a useful way to help you guys learn, especially if you're interested in getting certified. Tip number 1 for your ASE testing. You've got, can't believe I'm doing something so official in a robe. You've got to be a half an hour early, so be sure to take even more time off of how much time you have to prep and get ready in the morning. And get out of that robe and get out there and test on something, alright? Okay, so when you're on the ASE.com website, you click on registration and appointments. You can get reminded what the address is and where you're going. Before I logged in, that's my son, I was able to click on a couple of things and find out where my stuff was at too. Now the only thing that's annoying is it's not like your email to log in. You have to remember your username. A little more cleaned up now, am I? So now what's really nice is if I'd scroll down, you would have seen the address where I was taking my test, but I'm not that personal about where I live on YouTube, just in case there's someone crazy out there other than ZX. He's not crazy for fun. Anyway, you can use any software to get directions print off, but they even have a helpful way to help you print off your own directions if you don't know how to find those. I'm going to use my GPS, but I did a print just because my GPS gets lost a lot in my state and in my area. It literally doesn't know where a lot of things are, even though it says that address doesn't exist all the time. It's automaton. But ready for the day, feeling good. I'm just going to do one more ACE prep test before I go and make sure I'm testing well. Welcome to the chaos of my morning house. Okay, so here you can see the tests I'm doing. I'm doing brakes, electrical, and engine performance. I particularly like freeasestudyguides.com. I feel like their questions were modern. Some of the other websites I went to weren't. I mean, talk about some old tech that made it difficult. And that is important, that the testing is more on more recent stuff. At least I believe it is. one of the master techs I talked to told me that if you're not paying for the prep tests, that you're not going to get more current scenarios. Forgive dishes in the background. Like I said, you're joining my real family out here. But this website seemed to actually have modern things that I see every day. So I think the questions were very pertinent. I'm in the actual test where it doesn't give you hints and tell you instantly what you did wrong when you're farther along in your preparations. But when you first click on any one of these tests, they've got, you know, your standard questions, and they'll tell you if you're right or wrong instantly, which is good, because the longer you have the wrong idea in your head, the worse off you do, okay? I believe to have the right information in your head at all times rather than torture yourself trying to remember something. That said, thinking it through and truly understanding the system, sometimes I end up doing Google searches, but when you get the wrong or right answer, you can always read more on any question. When you're getting closer to your test time or you're pretty much prepared, it's a good idea to just do these actual tests and not spend a lot of time studying, because you want to brush up only on the things that you're struggling with. And my worst test wasn't 100%. Out of several tests I've taken, I had 2 wrong, and one of them was because you got to be really careful with the wording on these things. This website even gives hints about how to study. Personally, I don't think you'll get nearly as much done if you study while you're watching TV. But hey, if you need to unload your stress and you only study during the breaks, and that's something you can do regularly, it'll still add up on the study time and get you where you need to be. Case in point, be very careful with questions like this. Concepts like least likely or most likely will throw off your answer completely if you're not paying attention. And sometimes when you think you have 3 right answers, maybe it's because they actually want the least likely, and that 4th answer is actually, you know, the wrong for what you're working on, if that makes sense. Here's an additional trick that I like. When you're done, if you really want to know what that wrong question you did, copy and paste, go through the test again and really answer the questions, or don't, to get to that question and see what's going on. Now, like I said, this only happens when you're taking the test for real. When you're doing the actual practices, it'll always tell you what you got wrong. So I just have just a tiny bit of brush up on one little itty bitty thing left. You know, so that's pretty good. So it's my 2nd worst test. Good breakfast of eggs. Don't put sugar on your eggs, it makes you dumber. Other than that, when you've got your ACE test up, if you want to find your quick way to these are the helpful tests. Answer a question randomly like I do, and you'll get it wrong, but it'll tell you the correct answer, why. Occasionally, you'll need to reload the page to look at the question again to understand why that is why. You can click on read more. I go put it in a new tab a lot so that I can study up on anything I missed. Sorry, continued chaos at my household. Eric, the car guy for live events, must have older kids, that they can be good, or an amazing wife that can keep them under control. So anyway, when you select your particular test you're working on, you go up to the top and you select the last page. That is a quick way to get to the specific quizzes. I did quiz 1. I missed one question. I've restudied why I got that wrong. Focusing on the right so that you don't remember that when you're taking your test, not the wrong. And now I'm going to take quiz 2, and this should be my final one that I need before I go, and I can just relax. And my kids don't like cleaning. That just leaves me with one more test, and I have at least a half an hour before I need to leave, so I can be 15 minutes early to 30 minutes early. That'd be ridiculous. But I'll take my laptop with me. Maybe they'll have Wi-Fi, or I can use my cell phone. My cell phone works on this website very, very well, and I should be very ready. Cool. Sure picked a rainy day to take my test. Driving's going to be slow, and I didn't leave 40 minutes early. Look at that come down. Well, hey, it's been a few hours, and I've passed the 3 tests I set out to do.
I'm used to scoring much higher in tests, but I passed with a little wiggle room in each one. And the areas I did struggle in, and it kind of made sense I did, because while I learned the right answers in those sections, in my studying, I knew there was a couple of mysteries left. And I'm stuck somewhere between wanting to study a whole bunch and getting way smarter at those specific items, or instead saying, hey, some of those depths on some of those systems, I've never needed to know to fix those things. That said, having studied these things for the last few years, as I got more hands-on experience, I found that studying them did make me a better tech. Just not all of the information made me actually a better tech, if that makes sense. I've always gone through my life thinking that when I had tests, my professional organization, that it was mostly useful and good information. I felt less about that way about the automotive side, as most things are simpler. But it kills me that one of the only right answers I could give was a bad PCM, when I thought, what about the wire to the PCM? I see some wire between the PCM and the component. That could be bad too. You didn't even offer the wire as a test? Oh, let's not have techs jump into PCMs, call them bad PCMs without being thorough. However, it does take me back to one engine that I was getting wiped out on. My boss is like, I give up. This is taking too long. Because all my tests didn't match what the computer says was wrong with the car. Good voltage, good compression. Well, the compression was actually less than desirable, so maybe the engine was done anyway. But I felt during the test, when I saw a similar question pop up, that yeah, a bad PCM would do that. I told it to do a pressure balance, injector balance test, taking away fuel from individual injectors, and it didn't hurt the engine running on the ones it should. I mean, it should have no effect on the bad ones, and if so, half the injectors on this 6-cylinder were bad. 2 on one side of the engine, 1 on the other, and that's not where it said the code was, so maybe it did have a bad PCM. I killed myself testing and just couldn't find my way on that one. And the thinking exercises that ASE offers makes me realize it probably had a worn engine and a bad PCM. Honestly. Because where the bad compression was versus where the fuel injector test was, the results just didn't match where the compression was down. It just didn't. So that's a couple of stressful points. From honesty of some weak points of mine, I got more wrong questions answered about drum brakes than anything else. I'm sorry, they're simple. Do I have a deep understanding of them? Apparently not. Do I just do fine with them when something's worn or something's broken and I get the car running right again? Yeah, I do. Another weak point was I don't know the insides of alternators. Well, it used to be that they repaired the insides of alternators. Now they don't. So I'm sorry if I'm not good at testing the inside components of an alternator and I just judge it from the outside and be like, let's replace the thing. Which makes me laugh because one old school mechanic guy who interviewed me a few months back, he's like, he felt that today's guys were more parts changers. And I felt like way back when everyone rated cars as simple, I felt like they were just parts swapping to figure out what was wrong with them. When today technicians are expected to understand and test so much more than they did back in the day. So I thought bad technicians today were part changers, part changing fools, not getting things working right. And he thinks just the opposite because we're not going inside components. Once we find the failure on the outside of the component, we're done. Which is probably why it's popular on YouTube from some of the older school thinking to find out what's really wrong, even though that's not something you do in the real flag rate world. So I'm going to proudly put on my resume that I've got 3 ASEs now. Electrical, instead of scheduled. Electrical, engine diagnostic, and brakes. And I'm going to show it to someone who's thinking about hiring me that I thought was a better opportunity, and someone that I used to work for that I couldn't move up with. I'm going to reapply at another one of their stores and be like, hey, paid me a lot more now, because I actually liked the structure of my first shop. I was just not experienced enough to take advantage of it for good pay. Plus, my pay was low because it was my first year as an official tech. Some people would argue only my professional time adds up. But dude, I have approaching 100 articles online about fixing cars since 2007. I've spent a lot of years being heavy into a hobby. When I came into the professional side, I choked on some basic stuff that I hadn't done very much. So you could argue that's when my experience started. But I don't think it does, because, I mean, I formed a company. Yeah, it wasn't very popular, but at least in the sense that you have to have a lot of traffic to make money, and my fellow YouTubers, I think, will understand that. You have to have a lot of traffic to make money off of YouTube. But does that mean that you aren't successful? I would say no. I mean, touching thousands of people's lives, teaching them, giving them something they want, I think that's pretty successful, even if it's not ultra successful in the sense that, oh, you can quit your day job. Though, you know, that is a goal of mine, to kind of double my income by getting YouTube to be a day job, quittable if I want, but probably not, just so I can sock money away for retirement or the easy life before I'm too old to enjoy it. There's lots of avenues through life. Avenues, I finally get this testing done right as I had a possible job offer coming up to go back into medicine as a surgical tech, or cleaning sterile instruments. There's a traveling position coming up. It pays just fabulous money. Might be a nice break for my back working on cars. I think I'll have more energy for my YouTube if I do that, though I'll be farther from my primary tools, which is why I've thought of a lot of YouTube ideas that I'd like feedback from you guys on. I mean, maybe I should run over these difficult test questions. Maybe you guys would appreciate the thinking behind it. Not that I can get the really difficult test questions, probably, that will arrive in an actual ACE exam. That test site didn't prepare me as well as I thought. It's good that I did a lot of reading behind all the systems and didn't just expect myself to learn rote answers, because that would have put me in a worse position. But yeah, I passed. I was surprised on my paperwork that it says there's a lot of questions that aren't actually part of the test. I was like, well, I hope it wasn't all the easy ones. That might explain my lower score.
I was getting 14 to 16 miles per gallon, slightly uphill on the freeway at over 70 miles an hour. Just to get 16, though, to be honest, I kind of had to go way under the speed limit, so it wasn't a good situation. It is a beautiful day for this ASE test.
Get out of that robe and get out there and test on something, all right?